My dear brothers and sisters, today's liturgy reminds me of a small anecdote I read about some time back. I'm sure you also must have seen it on the Facebook. It's about a blind beggar on the roadside begging. And in front of him was a small cardboard on which was written, "Help me, I am blind." And the passers-by saw him and saw the board, and many of them did not even take notice of him. A few who felt pity for him put a little coin, and he heard the sound and said, "Thank you." In the course of the day, just before noon, a stranger passed their side, and a man, he saw the blind beggar sitting down there, the board, and the container, the few coins. And something happened in his heart. He took the board away, went behind the man, and wrote something there. Kept it down, and he walked away for his normal life. As the passers-by passed, they saw the blind man, saw the board there. And something happened in their heart, and began to put more and more coins. And the blind man, of course, had difficulty saying thank you, because everybody was putting a coin there. Evening came, and this man who had changed the board, so to say, came also passing by. And this blind man recognized him from his steps and from his senses, and asked him, "Young friend, what did you write on that board?" And this man told him, "Today is beautiful, I cannot see." These words that moved passers-by, so to say, to give him. These words, people began to appreciate the sense of sight. The gospel passage today is about the same thing, to appreciate the sense of sight. If I had to ask you this morning, among all the senses, 5 senses which you have, which will you appreciate the most? Or will you feel bad if you lose sight? Will you feel bad or hurt if you can't hear, if you can't talk, if you can't taste? Which is the most precious sense we have? I'm sure you're confused, right? You're confused because every sense is important. But some will say, okay, sense of sight. We heard today in the gospel passage about an incident where Jesus is moving to Jerusalem. Why Jerusalem? His final destination. But many things will happen there. And he told disciples about himself, what will happen there. But they never bothered about it. They could not see what's going to happen there with their inner eye. They could saw Jesus of Nazareth. We heard about Bartimaeus. If you see the name, what it means, in Aramaic it means son of Derelion. So on to be discarded. Why was it so? Why would the people believe that time anyone who has lost any sense is cursed by God? They said either he has sinned or his ancestors have sinned. Therefore he has to be. So God has cursed him. But in Hebrew, it means something is a son of honor. So this blind man who is rejected by all the people, and you heard the Jews telling him, "Stop shouting. Master's on the way. He's going. He's going." He's the Jesus of Nazareth. The people have not recognized this Jesus. They see him only as a person, a human being. They failed to look with the inner eyes. Though they saw miracles, they heard him. Person different from the other so-called rabbis. They could not see with the inner eye what's the beautiful. The day is beautiful, but for them they're still in darkness because this man is from Nazareth. We know his parents. We know them. But this man, Bartimaeus, does not give up. Though they say, "Stop shouting, stop shouting," he yells all the more, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Bartimaeus may have heard about Jesus of Nazareth. May have heard about. But when Jesus is passing by, something happens within himself. That this Jesus of Nazareth is not someone, an ordinary human being, the son of David. We know well that Messiah will be a descendant of David. We know all well. How did this man, blind beggar, know about that this person passing by is not an ordinary human being, but a descendant of, therefore he is the Messiah, God's chosen one, God's anointed one. How did he know about it? His faith within. He was looking at this so-called, the man who cannot see with the eyes of the heart. Who can forgive? Only God. So this Messiah is God himself who can forgive. Then we heard this response, Colime says, and his request is that I may see. We heard later on, Jesus gave him back his sight, and the man followed Jesus on the way to Jerusalem, not knowing what's going to happen to him. Brothers and sisters, this incident that we heard in today's gospel, what does it tell us? Number of things. God is never tired of listening to our prayers, though we may be tired of praying to him. I'm sure if you look back at your own life, we constantly pray to God. We want this and we want that for our children, for ourselves. We want this miracle to take place. And we get tired. Do we? I'm sure. But does God get tired? We might think that God doesn't hear our prayers. He does. But the way he wants it, not the way we want it. We may want a person who is sick and dying to be restored back to health. It's not God's ways. We may want someone of a family or a better job in the government. That might not be God's ways. God is never tired of listening to our prayers. We need the faith like Barnabas to say, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. And we say this constantly, day in and day out. Miracles take place. We may not get what we want, but we'll be totally different persons. We will see others, people with the eyes of God, not with our own eyes. We ask God to give us this grace today to appreciate the world, to appreciate ourselves, to look with the eyes of God and say, God, thank you for creating me, creating my family, my neighborhood, society. It is true, the society that we live is not that beautiful. And yet, can you see God in that and say, God, thank you? Let's pause for a while and ask God to give us the grace to look with his eyes, to say the day is beautiful, I cannot see. Or do I say, God, thank you for giving me these eyes to appreciate the goodness in me, goodness in others, no matter how he or she looks, no matter how they appreciate us, no matter what is the attitude towards us.